Zach is back. It's the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
All right, welcome back in. Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. 609-9199-D200 is the number as we come to you live on this Wednesday from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. A documentary is out. It's called Mr. Chibs, and it documents the life of one Kenny Anderson, who has gone through a lot, and some of the stuff has been his own fault, and some of the stuff is something that he could never have prevented. And this is described as a hard-hitting, emotional, and a real documentary. And Kenny Anderson's kind enough to hop on board with us right now to share his story, and it's called Mr. Chibs, the documentary. Kenny, we appreciate a few minutes. Thanks so much, and how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me, Zach.
Well, thank you for coming on, and we appreciate you sharing your story. But I do have to ask you this because I see it all the time, and the documentary is called Mr. Chibs. How did the nickname come about?
Well, that's very dear to me. My mother named me that when I was like 5 days old. When the doctors brought me into the room, you know, her mouth was full. She said cheeks, and then it said Chibs, and then she stayed with Chibs. And my family, my friends, everybody in Queens, it just grew on me. Left Rack City, they started calling me Chibs. Grew on me. I didn't know my name was Kenneth until kindergarten, until she registered me for kindergarten. And when I did something positive or showing off or doing something crazy, she called me Mr. Chibs. So it stuck with me, and it's very dear to me. So, you know, I named the documentary Mr. Chibs.
When you did something bad, though, I'd assume that she called you Kenneth, right?
Nah, never that. My mother hardly called me Kenny or Kenneth. It was always Chibs or Mr. Chibs. My high school coach, Jack Curran, called me Kenneth. I hate Kenneth. You know, when I did something bad, you know, he called me Kenneth. But I don't like to be called Kenneth. I like to be called Kenny, you know, but that's just what it is, you know?
Kenny Anderson with us right now, Mr. Chibs on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. That's the documentary. This story, when you open up about it, it definitely is emotional. It's tough. You've done some things wrong in your life, and you've had some awful things happen to you yourself. Just what was it like for you to finally tell your story?
Oh, it was therapy, man. Jill Campbell, my director, shadowed me for about 4.5 years. Barry Greenstein, who invested in my story, who believed in it. It was, I'm not sure if I would have done it if my mother was still living, but just after retiring and looking at the news and reading a lot of different things and what's going on in the world with the youth in this generation. And then around that time, 4 years ago, was the short stories, the documentary phase, 30 for 30. And everybody's like, you got a story, man. You Kenny Anderson. You should tell it. So, you know, I said, you know what, let's do it. And then we started, you know, getting footage. And like I said, Jill Campbell came the storyline. She put the storyline together. She did a hell of a job piecing it together.
A lot of times when people have these stories to tell, like you were saying, sometimes they don't want to share it. But a lot of times people, they do share it is to help others. How much was that you wanted to share this just to help others if they're struggling right now, to see your story and say, hey, you could spin this thing around?
Oh, that's all I was doing. You know, when I really got raw with it, sat down with my wife, she was like, if you're going to do this, you better be honest. And, you know, that's all I was doing is paying it forward, trying to help some of the youth or even adults who's dealing with a lot of shame and embarrassment and holding a lot of things in. And I think it's positive. It's a very unique documentary. You know, it's just ups and downs and ups. It's all over the place. It's inspirational. We all have stories to tell. Like you said, we all have stories, but there's a lot of us that's embarrassed, ashamed to tell our stories so we can help others. And I just, you know, reached out. And being a voice, being a child prodigy in New York, being a 4-time All-City All-American, being the #1 recruit in 1989 in the country, 2-time All-American, 14-year-old NBA vet, All-Star in NBA, I reached so many goals sports-wise. So my slogan is basketball is easy, life is hard, you know, the Mr. Chibs documentary. So it fits me, but that slogan fits a lot of other people, everybody in general, in different forms you can put that to.
You talk about the success and the numbers that you had on your resume and what you were able to accomplish in the NBA. You know, an outsider looks at celebrities and athletes and all these players as having no problems, and we know with you that you did have a lot of problems. When did you realize that you were battling some demons that were inside of you?
I think I didn't. I held it in for 30 years. I think the 2 years after I retired, 2005, 2007, when my mother passed away, I just said I have to come clean and just, make it better for me. Like I'm not trying to prove a point to anybody. I could care less about an opinion if somebody else think of me. I'm just trying to get better for myself and my family, and that's really what I wanted to do, and that's what this documentary is all about. Is helping somebody, being that voice that maybe somebody could catch somebody early than the way it caught me 30 years. I held it in. There's some people still holding it in for 40, 50 years. That's different things that happen to them, and it's killing them. And I had fame, money, to hide from it. Some of these young kids don't have anything. They go to drugs, alcohol, they jump off buildings, commit suicide. So that's just my way of just giving back. And God gave me so much. I said, I got to give. It's my duty, obligation. This God's blessed me throughout. So I got to give back. And that's all it's about.
You had to go through something as a child that no child should ever have to go through, and it robs you of your innocence when you were abused as a child. I know you've talked about this before, but when you have to talk about it, how difficult is it still for you to this day to talk about it?
It's very difficult. I teamed up with 1in6.org, men that's been sexually abused, molested, raped, all different type of things. So I sat down with them. It's very difficult, and it's still difficult, but you have to get it out. You have to talk about it. A lot of kids are going through it, and that's one of the biggest things. Me being Kenny Anderson, and I've already helped kids that I did radio shows, I did camps, clinics, motivational speakers, and they come up to me after and say, man, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to try to go get help. Then there's some say they can't come out because of the statue they're holding or the business they're in. They're just afraid to. So that's the main calling. If I can help 1, 2, 3 people, with their problems, I did my job. It's a blessing.
I think the number one important thing when someone gets abused is for them right away, because sometimes you blame yourself, is to realize that it's not your fault and to share it with someone that is very close to you and someone that you could trust. With this, and, it took a long time probably for it to come out, but who was that first person that you told that, hey, something wrong did happen to you when you were a child?
I came out about 4 years ago on SB Nation, and they just brought it all over the place. Like, when I was going through the documentary and then, with Jill Campbell, so I put it out to the public, you know what I mean? Because it just came over me. I was doing an interview and something just came over me. And I said I needed to address this problem. It's been, I've been fighting with it for 30 years. So that's one of the reasons I did it. And all I did it was for, like I said, I've been reading, I've been watching the news, a lot of these kids getting abused, molested, and not telling anyone. I said I have to, really the Penn State ordeal with all that went on with the molestation. It was in my head, man. I gotta get it out. I gotta, maybe because I'm Kenny Anderson, I'm on a stage, I'm on a platform. Maybe if I say something, some of these kids can come out and get help early. So there was a lot of things that was going on in the world that caught my attention and said I better try to just come out and help someone. That was it.
I can't even imagine holding it in. So you didn't tell a single soul until 4 years ago?
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly.
Wow. Kenny Anderson with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. You've been through a lot, and you're able to overcome a lot, and then you still had some problems as well, but you had a very long career in the NBA. Even with what all you had to deal with growing up as a kid, how did you make it to become the NBA player and the college player that we all saw?
Just straight skill. I'm very talented, gifted. I'm just, I worked, when I was younger, high school, my mentor, Vincent Smith, Jack Curran, Pierre Turner, we worked. I was in the recreation gym in Queens, New York, Lost Battalion Hall. I just worked extremely hard, but I was really gifted to play basketball. And basically being a child prodigy, growing up in New York, playing in the playgrounds, just God-given talent. And then, when I got to the NBA, things of that nature, you have to work a lot harder, which I did. But then sometimes I would just take off. I wasn't really so thrilled in the NBA like I should have been. You know, I just think a lot of the money and the fame and all the things that you have to go through, basketball really wasn't the same. I knew that I was able to take care of my mother. That was my motivation, and the NBA did that, the infrastructure. But all the other stuff that came with it, I let it take toll on my mindset. But and to play 14 years and to be an all-star and to have the numbers I've had and have some of the games and the performances I had, I just sit back and say, wow, you know, if I would have probably worked extremely hard, you know, in my career in the NBA, God knows what my numbers would have been and how it would have turned out. So I'm just blessed, man. I did it my way. Been 14 years and did it my way. So, you know, like I tell my son, if you could make it to the NBA. It's only like 624 jobs. If you could make it to the NBA and play half the half of career I had, you've been successful. So it's just been a blessing.
Since you bring up your son, when this documentary came out and when you decided to share some of these things publicly, what did your kids think about the documentary?
It's great because I don't hold nothing back. I sit them, down, sit my son down at the table. I own up to my stuff, and that's what I want them to do and be grown up. When they grow up, to never point fingers and make blame other people. This is what I've done. This is what I've been through. This is what you shouldn't do. If you do, this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? My mother taught me those values, and that's something I do believe in. Just own up, figure out, understand your problem, get a solution, then work on yourself, period. Don't blame nobody else. And this is how Pops was raised, and it's what I've been through, and I'm just trying to get better for y'all guys so y'all can live a productive life, so I can be a better father, and that's that. The NBA has been great. Basketball has been great, but more to it. There's more to it. Basketball didn't define me, so it's more to it than life. So I'm just trying to better myself. That's about it.
You sound real genuine, and you sound like someone that continues to fight this every day to correct some of the wrongs that did happen in your life, and one of those was the DUI. How do you explain what happened with the DUI? Because I know that was an emotional part of the documentary.
That's really nothing. It's about millions of people running around here, buzz drinking, getting away with it. But I'm Kenny Anderson, so it's what happens when you make wrong choices. You get behind the wheel and you drive. I thank God I didn't kill myself or kill somebody else, but it's who I am, If I was Joe Smo, nobody would even have known about it. But it was a blessing in disguise for me, so I learned. So that was just a part of it, But I let those kids down. I was coaching. That was the biggest part. So I never had a drinking problem or anything like that. I most likely I had a lifestyle party, like a lifestyle problem, like a partying problem, with that. But a DUI, that was my first offense. That's the first spiel on my in my life. So, it's just I always try to be real, and that's another thing. It's in the documentary. My son and my kids, seen that. I say, hey, this is what I don't want y'all to go through. So don't do that, But most of all, I felt like I let those kids down at Posnack Jewish Day School. We all have problems, and I'm bringing it out for it to help somebody. But don't get it wrong. You, me, everybody running around hiding, that we all got to get true to ourselves.
And something that I like about this documentary and your message is that you're trying to help others, like we talked about, and you made $60-something million in the NBA and had to file for bankruptcy. So let's say if you could give some advice to some younger kids that are going to get drafted in this year's draft about managing their money, what advice would you give them?
Now, let's go back. You just said bankrupt. Now, bankruptcy, now all you people know that. Lawyers, doctors, people who hide money. Trump went bankrupt. So I didn't lose my shirt. So I want to understand that. I want you to understand it because people say, oh, you went bankrupt at 60. So no, legally I can't get into some of the things I did while I filed bankrupt.
You still had things saved, though. You still had things saved, correct? Is what you're saying.
Well, I'll just leave it alone. I won't go deeper to that because I might have problems with my kids' mothers and all that. But I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? Believe me, I'm living good. But on that note, you just have to. I didn't spend me and my accountant sit today and talk about it. My lawyer who's been with me since I'm 18 years old. I didn't spend most of my money. I had a big heart, and I helped so many people. So my thing with these young guys is know when to say no. and also live frugal. You don't need the more money you make, you don't want money to go out. I was nervous about making investments, so I spent my money. My mother helped me. Sometimes your worst enemy could be your family. You know what I'm saying? I have 8 kids, 2 failed divorces. So my money's been just, I spent it. You know what I mean? I didn't invest. Now I'm doing some type of investment and doing some different things, but that's just my life. And I don't look back on that because I spoiled my mother, and I probably would do it again, but I would do it differently. But there's no bad real estate deals. Lawyers took $30-40 million from me. No, none of that. I spent my money.
Kenny Anderson with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Kenny, let's talk some hoops before we let you run. I got to get into the Knicks. This has been a bizarre year for the Knicks. It's been a bizarre last decade for the Knicks, and Phil Jackson, to me, isn't treating Carmelo Anthony in the right way with the cryptic tweets and then all the other stuff that he's been carrying on. How do you view that relationship of Phil Jackson and Carmelo Anthony right now?
Oh, it's weird, It's I take my hat off to Melo, the way he's been handling everything this year. I think the way it looks, if Phil's going to stay, I think I don't know what Carmelo's going to do. He has a no trade clause, but I would probably think he probably want to move on and get to somewhere. But moving on for him, he's getting up there in them years. He's a great player. I think he's a great scorer, a great player. He would have to get with somebody where he can compete for a ring. He accomplished so many individual feats. So now you got to look at, where would he go to go chase that ring? Now, if you don't want to chase a ring, stay in New York with the no clause, and they have to deal with him, and they have to figure it out. So, hey, the Knicks, they're in a bunch of it's kind of troubling over there right now.
The current state of the NBA, it's such an interesting one because really only 2 teams can win the championship. When you watch basketball now, just what are your thoughts in general about how there's not a lot of competition in the NBA right now, that there aren't really more than 2 teams that could legitimately win the championship?
No, I just think it's so many individual players, so talented, but I think the East is getting better. The West has always been pretty steady, with the competition as teams. At least 4 or 5 teams in the West are very good. The East is, I think this year, the Washington Wizards, the Celtics is missing one piece, but they're very good. So, and as long as LeBron James, he's the X factor. As long as he's in the East, you figure, someone has to knock him off the throne. And I'm not sure if anybody in the East could do that. He looks like he's in full gear. He looks like he's going to play another 10 years, the way he plays and the way he's in shape. So, it's just a matter of the teams in the East. And I thought the East was better this year. It was about 2 years ago. It wasn't that good. But it's just a lot of individual talent in the league that's on its high, especially the point guards. It's like the glory days of the NBA right now. It's a lot of great point guards in the league.
And you're seeing that with the Celtics because Isaiah Thomas has just been unbelievable, and his story is really something else. But you look at the Celtics, I feel like maybe Melo could be a fit there, Kenny. What would you think if Melo got traded there? Maybe that could put them over the top.
Yeah, I had that at the top on my list for Melo. Celtics, Memphis Grizzlies would be a nice choice. Memphis Grizzlies, the Celtics is my number 1 choice, but I don't know if they have to give one of them core guys up. I'm not sure if that's going to be good. Another team, if he wants to, those 2. I think the Clippers, but I don't know if they're gonna. I think Blake would be gone, and then they'll move Melo in there, but they won't have enough to compete in the West. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure, but Boston would be great because they need another piece. They need another go-to guy that could score. That's what they're missing.
Is LeBron the best player you've ever seen?
I got to go with Michael Jordan. I still got Kobe in there. And I always go, LeBron is awesome. He's killing this era, this generation. He is killing it. I just go by eras, man. I just think it's a lot easier. Not saying he wouldn't dominate in the 90s, but it would be a lot harder for him. You know what I mean? But I just this generation, the league has made it easier, it's fan friendly, it's entertainment. It's $1 billion business, it's doing great. But I just think the 90s would have been a little harder, competitive. I think it is, but a little different now.
Mr. Chibs is the name of the documentary. Kenny Anderson with us. Before we let you run, Kenny, just the final product, the first time you saw it, what was that first thought when it did end, the hour 30? What was that first thought that popped into your head?
Well, I was like, we got something good here. Got something special. That's why I wanted the people to look at me when the final cut was in. And let me tell you something. It's still over. If you're still in New York, still over at the IFC Center on 6th Avenue, right across from West 4th Street, the Cage. It'll be playing there all week. Go check it out if you're in New York, or especially go to my website, MrChibs.com, and it keep you up to breath. It's already made about 5 cities in the theaters. It's in Atlanta, Texas, and then even Montana. Montana took it. So it's making its runs, getting great reviews, and just a true story of a guy that, just had, went through a lot, but still was able to accomplish a lot playing basketball.
Well, Kenny, we appreciate the time. We appreciate how real you were during this process, and thanks so much, and we'll talk to you down the road.
All right, my man. Bye-bye.